Welcome to another exciting episode of the Business of Digital podcast, featuring your hosts, Matt Siltala and Dave Rohr. Hey guys, excited to have you join us on a very special podcast today. This is our 2019 end of it. Yeah, give me the drum roll, Dave.
I don't know how the heck that sounds. It's just my desk and bouncing everything.
This is our review, and I love the notes that you put in there. Our review eventually, because it took a little bit to get this recording to you guys today.
Because Dave broke his.
Don't touch stuff; you break it.
Yeah, don't touch the gain, Dave.
So I like this, and we were chatting a little bit before we started recording. But I do, like at first thought, I'm like, well, what did we really accomplish in 2019? But then
as little as possible.
But then I started thinking, actually, you know what? We got quite a bit done. And one of the things that I was going to say that I've noticed more than anything in 2019 is, and I think we're going to see this a lot more, Dave, in 2020, but I loved that I started seeing more and more people getting into podcasting, and people are loving it, and people are starting to finally figure it out. And, we've been doing it for over 2 years now, and this going to be almost 130 episodes into this. And in fact, I just sent you an invitation to a guy that's starting a podcast that's going to be starting his in January. And so this is the kind of stuff when I look back and I see, okay, well, what do I want to review, or what do I want to talk about for 2019? And I feel pretty good because any of the talks that I talked about, any of the sessions that I was at, or any of the panels that we did together or separate, a lot of them was about creating content via the podcast funnel, if you will. And so I thought that was kind of neat. We got to talk a lot about podcasting. We got to talk a lot about we actually, Dave and I created a guide that's on SEMrush. And did we finally decide, is it SEMrush or SEMrush?
It's SEMrush. I
don't care. So I said it right. SEMrush. And so our how to get started in podcasting guide is live and up there. And so for me, when I look back at, what was accomplished in 2019 and kind of give it that review, it kind of makes me satisfied. We're getting the word out about podcasting, Dave. So that's kind of, my thoughts and kicking it off. So I'll toss it over to you.
I'm looking at some data. I like data.
I was going to say, you're probably going to bring some data into this.
I'm just looking at there's 5 different ways to slice it, and I didn't bring up the little report with what's been listened to exactly the most. But some of our more popular episodes from this year, most recent, I'll work backwards, was when we talked.
Wait. Before you say it, I'm going to guess. I'm going to guess that maybe one of the more popular ones was when we had the FTC chairwoman on.
That is one of the more recent ones that, yes. Huh. And then go further back.
Okay.
And what would you guess?
I don't even know. I can't even think of it. Something, I don't know, maybe just I'm trying to guess our crowd, like something with our help with starting a small business, or like doing a technical audit or something.
Depending on how I slice the numbers, there's kind of a couple that were very close. What is best for you, a blog, microsite, or other? Influencer bubble bursting, and the botched SEO migration case that I did are all very similar.
Funny enough.
Right before that was the 100th episode series.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Those
I'm guessing those were the best.
Yep, and the ones right after it, probably because we did promote the heck out of those.
Those were some good ones. Those ones, when I'm looking back on it, I actually completely.
Well, those are evergreen too, because we talked about stuff that's been happening in the last 20 years. So if you haven't listened to them, they're longer. But we talked with, I'm looking in order, Greg Bozer, Matt McGee, Deborah Massler, Jim Banks, and Dana Todd.
And they were fabulous. All of them. I remember even coming out of those like, Huh.
Those were fun too to record.
Yeah, they were fun, and they just had some good nuggets.
Even though we talked about the last 20 years, there was still like anytime I talk to Jim Banks, I try to pay attention.
Yeah.
Especially, I mean, I do some PPC, but he lives and breathes and like that's all he does. So, of course, I have a cough today. Then going back further, how to get booked on podcasts.
I can see that one being.
It might be because we now, if you try to be a guest on our show, we ask if you've actually listened to that one.
Yeah.
So it appears that some people actually are. And then if we go further back to the start of the year, Google antitrust, and the Super Mario effect.
Yeah.
Were some of the first ones of the year.
I was thinking about that antitrust one and thinking that it probably that one and then the follow-up one that we've done, and
yeah, those we kicked off 2019 with.
Those are probably pretty big ones.
So, and I'm not even going to review our 2019 predictions because I'm sure we were wrong.
I don't know. We said podcasting was going to get bigger. I know that that's one of the things we said, and it most certainly has. I know that people, and I hate being one of those ones like, oh, mobile, but not just mobile, but like the zero results and stuff like that. There's a lot more, and maybe you were talking
actually,
earlier.
You did predict, if nothing else, focus on content that answers questions and solves a problem. So if you think about BERT and you think about just the answer boxes, the FAQs, and all of the other stuff, like you just said, that's been getting thrown into Google. Matt was right.
Or it's like I read, I can't remember who said it, something about it's not link building anymore. It's answer building, answering questions and stuff like that. And I thought that was interesting. But for me, it's always been, why can't we have the best of both worlds? Like, I've always tried to create content, whether it be in the form of an infographic or a blog post, or now more recently, we've been, podcasting the last couple of years. I've always tried to create content that answers a question. That's just something I've always done, as opposed to, let's see what the search engine wants so we can rank for and try to manipulate. And like, I've never done that. I've never played that game. I've always tried to walk the line of, being the solution to the problem.
I'm still looking at our predictions. My prediction on paid search was probably correct. We were so vague though.
Well, that's how you do it right.
That's how you predict things. You're very vague. Like, something's going to happen in the future that'll be good or bad. I said, how far will Google and others push automation and AI in bidding and overall management? Really far.
Well, didn't I see recently Facebook made 13 or 19? I can't remember the number. Recent changes to their tools for the advertising and stuff like that. Like, that's just going to constantly keep changing.
Well, just the Google and like the Google people, I saw a thread, and I think we mentioned it before, but there was a thread where someone said, it basically gave the typical, when your Google rep calls you, what happens, and like hundreds of people responded or liked it or retweeted it, because the Google, they're really pushing the AI and use the AI for everything. And I think we talked about that a little bit when Scott Clark was on, about how it can work, but it also can't always work. It just depends on the setup in your client, or if you're in-house, your own setup. I think those were the big ones. As far as lens, what was your favorite one to record this year? Not including the 100th series, because that's that makes it more difficult for Matt.
It does make it more difficult, but I actually, believe it or not, I really did love most of it was like over my head because I'm not a legal person by any means, but as far as like when we're talking about influencer marketing or the reviews and fake reviews, and we started diving into that with the former FTC chairwoman, I forget her name. Anyway, but that one was
Maureen Oldhausen.
Yes, thank you, Maureen Oldhausen.
I'm cheating and looking. I knew it was Marine, but I couldn't remember how to say her last name.
What's funny is I actually knew her last name, and I couldn't think of her. I was like, Olhausen, but anyway. But yeah, that one was fascinating for me. The only thing I would love to have her on again and have a whole, when you're talking about, regrets or what do you want to do or did we do one wrong or right or what would you like to see in 2020? I'd love to have her on again, try to get her on and have a whole episode where we're just talking about reviews and fake reviews and that's kind of strategies because that side of it's fascinating to me, and I think that's going to become even more prevalent in 2020, especially after seeing. I can't remember who tweeted out the story. It's probably Dan Hunt or someone or Bill Hartzer. I can't remember. One of them they shared how there was an influencer that just got 14 years in prison for trying to.
Yeah, he did that in April, and they just got. The sentence just came down like this past week.
Yeah, for trying to jack a domain name or something.
Oh, they did.
Oh, yeah. So
he sent his cousin with a gun, and they at gunpoint made the guy transfer the domain over and then shot him in the leg.
Wow. So like
they weren't going to know who the domain went to. It's like here's the guy's email address, and here's his name and home address. Please transfer it over.
Stupid criminal alert right there. Jeez. Oh. So anyway, I thought that was interesting, and of course, this is kind of open for us, just like looking at 2019 in general. But what I noticed with like my kids especially, and I think that this is super important for everybody to hear and understand too, because they're going to need to know how to tap into these kind of networks and market to these kind of people and kids because they're getting older. But I saw Reddit being huge. Like I saw my wife even spend
don't say TikTok. Don't say TikTok. Don't say TikTok.
Let me finish. I saw my wife spend more time on Reddit than Pinterest for the first year. My kids basically communicate in memes, and so if you're not figuring out something to do with communicating in memes, or you're gonna hate me, TikTok.
No,
I said it. I'll tell you what though, like just between you and me, TikTok scares me. Like I remember I was like, okay, what is all this about? And I loaded it on the computer and I opened it up, and the first one had to be like 16 or 17-year-old, couldn't have been any older than that, in a G-string doing a dance, and I'm like, what is this? Nope, not for me. And I like went off of it, and I'm like, what on earth is TikTok? And anyway, I like to consume TikToks that people share through like Twitter or Facebook or something else, and so I have seen some of those that have been pretty funny. And again, it's just more of like, I'm just kind of giving you like what I've seen. Like this is what the kids are in. Like they're in Reddit. Like they're in Reddit all the time. That's how they're watching their videos. That's where they're researching stuff. That's where they're spending their time. That, and then that other one that shall not be named that you don't like. But that's just kind of what I've seen, Dave.
I just think TikTok is hilarious because it's it and the other one that shut down that was bought by Twitter.
Vine?
Yeah, Vine are all like 12 seconds TV came out too soon.
Yeah.
Like it was basically that, which is what Vine and now TikTok is, which TikTok bought Musical.ly, which was interesting. And I think that it went from, whatever. Not to spend too much time talking about TikTok, but yeah, it's interesting. For me, I think the most interesting podcast we've done where I learned the most is like when we had Ruth on, or more Marine, and we'd really dig into that kind of stuff. For me, that's just, I don't know, that's really interesting when we talk about the antitrust stuff and when we talk about the legal side of things, because that's not something that I spend a lot of time on.
No, that's
or even when Steve was on and we talked about, initially about the Google and antitrust.
Yeah.
Like those, some of them are applicable to every day. Like when we talked with Ruth and even some with Marine, but some of the stuff with like Steve and some of the other stuff when we talked about CCPSA, or when we talked about GDPR a long time ago with Jenny, those, it's not something I spend all day in, and it's most of us don't spend much time on.
Yeah.
But the ramifications in some cases can be huge, especially with like ADA California, I believe, is coming out with in 2020, maybe their own ADA type specification for websites. So how is that going to play into stuff? I don't know. I don't know what it's going to look like. I don't know when it's passing, but I've heard about it.
Yeah.
So I imagine we'll talk more stuff about that. And I know one of the topics we kept trying to talk about this year that we did not was voice. And I know someone a year ago asked we talk more about it. And we kept trying to get like Christy on from Bing or some other things. And that's probably mostly on me and Matt. Although Christy, I know I was trying to get her on and then she went on maternity leave. So I was not going to make her come on during then. And then we just had other topics come up
too. Yep.
We can get either of them on, and there's some other people. We get focused on squirrel. There's like a whole list of other topics that we want to talk about, and every so often something will just come up, and it's like, well, this is kind of timely, so we kind of should talk about it now.
Well, and it's our podcast. We can do what we want.
I know, but I'm curious to talk about that stuff. And I know it's feeding more and more into devices and stuff like that. So even if we're busy, we're going to have to figure out a way. And it's already scheduled for the first couple months, at least one, if not two.
The only thing that I have to say about voice is...
I just threw stuff on the wall. Like Matt knows, and I know that there's a list of like 15 different ideas that are all the same number. I think 135 is like 15 items, and we'll just pick one. There's probably even more than that at this point because everything just keeps getting, kicking the can down. There's just all sorts of topics that we might talk about, or we get to that day of, and it's like, wow, that's a lot of research, and neither of us has read enough, so it doesn't happen.
So here's a prediction for 2019, and this is perfect.
For 2020 or 2019? Because you got 2 weeks.
Sorry, 2020.
Maybe 3.
2020. Here's a prediction for 2020. People are going to talk about the Peloton commercial and the Ryan Reynolds.
They already are. That's cheating.
No, but I'm saying, like, imagine how many decks you're going to see it in this year at conferences and stuff. Like, that's my point. Like,
my goal is to not mention it or include it.
So let's get it out in 2019 then, is what you're saying. Because I'll just tell you right now, I thought it was stupid, the backlash. Like, personally, I thought the backlash was stupid, but I thought Ryan Reynolds was brilliant for
I'm
what
sure it
he
was
did.
Not just him.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you're correct, but I'm just saying,
I'm sure
like, he's getting the credit.
Paid for it or approved it. But well, we don't have any budget. And he's like, do it.
But that was amazing. So, like, I thought that was fantastic, but I thought that whole thing, people want to make much to do about nothing anymore, and I hate that kind of crap. Like, I asked my wife about it. Like, what were your thoughts on it? She's like, I don't know. Is he telling me I'm fat? Like, nothing completely like he's holding her down and like, anyway, she's a hostage of her. I don't get it, dude. I don't get it.
I think it was the goal was to, because it's not a cheap item. I think the goal was to make the giver see that someone is going to use it.
Yeah.
That, like the woman,
like it's an investment.
I know some people that have it and they use it.
Yeah.
But I also know lots of people, myself included, have bought some fitness equipment. Nothing remotely as expensive as that. Let alone something that has, and how many people sign up for the gym membership and then don't go? Yeah, but it's $15 a month or it's $25 a month.
How long have I been paying for Sirius and haven't used it?
Yeah, we all have stuff like that. But this is also a larger ticket priced item that then goes and sits there.
Monthly, yeah.
Yeah, and monthly, it's my understanding.
Hey, well, keeping us on track, trying to keep this around the 20-minute mark. Again, us thinking about you listeners. Yes, I am. I know you don't want to do it, but I'll give one as well. But just give me a quick 30-second prediction, or what your thoughts are for 2020.
Not to put me on the spot, but you're putting me on the spot.
I absolutely am.
Even though this was my idea, and I probably should have had one. They are not going to break up Facebook and Google or Amazon, but the CCP, what is it? The California's privacy thing will go in, and as far as digital, there's going to be nonstop news around because of the election about ads and whatnot in Facebook and Google, and that'll be the focus. And I think a lot of other things aren't going to be mentioned as much because of the election, because of Twitter pulling ads. Is Facebook going to pull ads? Is Google what's Google and YouTube going to do? YouTube's got its own thing. So I think most of 2020 is going to be continued public, maybe some public outcry, but maybe more stuff in Washington and more stuff just in the news and more that we have to deal with of ramifications of just the privacy of the YouTube stuff, of the Facebook, of the ad stuff for politicians. I think all of that's going to rear its head in some form for more people than we would think.
And along all of that, so I'm not just saying ditto to what you said, which is exactly what I want to do, but in all that, it's also my prediction. It's going to show those agencies that know what they're doing. They're going to shine in 2020, and they're going to thrive and prosper, and they're going to be, still be helping their clients grow because they've never done any of this kind of other crap. And so, anyway, I definitely do think that there's going to be, like, my prediction. Again, not to piggyback off anything, I was simply going to just say there's going to be a lot more.
Broad, so yeah.
Well, there's going to be a lot more legal stuff that we're going to see, whether it be with reviews, whether it be with influencer, whether it be with stuff going on with YouTube, whether it be, like with California doing what they're doing. Exactly that. Like my whole thought was we're going to see a lot more legal ramifications in 2020.
Well, there's already lawsuits rolling out, whether how many stick around usability for websites. There's privacy things where YouTube and content creators are being slammed or losing ad revenue because of targeting under the age of 13.
One other thing that I do predict really quick, Dave?
So,
you're going to be doing a lot more micro conferences too in 2020.
Well, hopefully.
You like that little plug?
Conferencepopup.com.
Yes, there you go. All right. Well, there you go.
That's the 2019 wrap in some somewhat vague, somewhat specific predictions for 2020.
But as always, we love you guys. Thank you guys so much. Those that listen, that subscribe, that spend your time with us. Like we really appreciate it. And, hopefully in 2020, one of our goals is maybe get some more swag out, get some better shirts, get some stickers and get it to you faithful listeners. And so we love you guys. We appreciate you listening to us. Continue to go and give us reviews on iTunes, give us reviews on wherever you can, on Facebook, and
or feel free to ping us and DM us and say that was awesome, or oh my god, what were you guys thinking?
Yeah, let us know either way. So all right, well, for Dave Rohr with Northside Metrics, I'm Matt Tiltel with Avalanche Media, and 2019 you've been awesome. And we'll see you guys in 2020. Bye.